All right, here we go with the first lesson. Now, I know you said something about, well, English is not a first language, so hopefully I speak well enough that you understand what we're trying to do. Always ask questions if you don't understand something. I will always try and re-explain things better, or explain things better in an email if I have to, and that's totally fine. So the first thing I would like to do is just smooth out some picking. We have a lot of different rhythms here. Now, up at the top is some instruction on how to approach practicing this. And if you ever forget how to practice things, there is a video linked in my email signature. So just open up any email from me, and near the bottom of my signature it'll have a video on how to practice. And it's basically what we're going to talk about here. So as it says, without the repeat. So right here, this symbol, like these two lines and the dots and the two dots, you have another two lines and two dots here. So those are repeat symbols. That means you're going to play through this entire thing twice. And then after you play through that twice, you hit the last chord at the end. It seems like you do know how to read rhythm and count rhythm because of how you demonstrated stuff, so that's good. Eventually, we are going to play some fairly complicated rhythms. So what I would like you to do to make sure you are prepared for really difficult things, count out loud, say what the rhythm is as you play it. But from 60 beats per minute, you're going to say out loud what the rhythm is, up to at least 120 beats per minute. If you are able to continue saying the count out loud past 120, do it. That's a good thing to do. Great practice. It really helps build a strong understanding and feeling of those rhythms when you can say it. So, and I'm going to demonstrate this stuff too. If after 120 or just at any speed past that, when it becomes too difficult to say what it is you're playing, that's okay. Don't need to do it anymore. But I want you to really try from 60 to 120, say it as you play it. It's really going to help. So every bar or measure, same thing, we have a different rhythm. And because of that, saying the rhythm as you play it can be very, very helpful in making sure you're playing it correctly and understanding it properly. So, yes, back to the instructions at the top of the page here. So, without the repeat, spend 15 minutes working this up as fast as you can. So, just with you and the metronome, you're going to start at 60 beats per minute. Without the repeat, you play through the whole thing. When you have played it correctly, accurately, when you played it well enough to be on your album, you're like, yes, that sounds good, then you go up 5 beats per minute. Basically, play this correctly once, move it up 5 beats per minute, do it again. So you're going to continue to go up 5 beats per minute every time you play this correctly. So, a couple things are going to happen here. Basically, two options will happen. So first thing is, once you have reached 15 minutes, add in the repeat. So like set a timer. So after 15 minutes goes by, whatever speed you are on after that 15 minutes hit. So let's say, for example, you made it to 200 beats per minute in like 14 minutes and 30 seconds. So maybe you didn't play it correctly at the first time, and then the timer goes off after 15 minutes. Before adding in the repeat, make sure you can play that speed you're currently on. So let's say the timer ends after 15 minutes, or goes off after 15 minutes. Whatever speed you were on, for example, if it was 200 beats per minute, get that played correctly, and then add in the repetition. And your goal is to work up to 4 repetitions. So you play twice through at whatever speed you got to, and then you try it 3 times through, and then you try it 4 times through. That's why it says try working up to 4 repetitions. Decrease the metronome speed if you are unable to add in the repeats. So let's say you played at 200 beats per minute after the 15-minute mark has, or after 15 minutes is up. You did play the 200 beats per minute, but the repeat just doesn't seem to be happening. So drop it down to 190. Try it there. And let's say you do get it in, you are able to do the repeat at 190. But playing it 3 times through, still not happening. So then you drop it down to 180. Try it again. So basically, keep decreasing that metronome speed until you are able to get in the repetitions you're working on. Now, let's see. I just totally forgot what I was going to say. I had a thought I wanted to... Man, I don't like it when that happens. You have a thought and then all of a sudden you just instantly forget it. Anyway, so hopefully that comes back to me. But yeah, so this says do not spend over 20 minutes total working on this. Oh, that is... Okay, that's what I was going to say. 3 times. Give yourself 3 solid attempts for the repeats. So let's say you are trying to play at 200 beats per minute and you're going for 3 times, or well, let's say the first repeat. You're on 200 beats per minute. You're trying to play this whole thing twice through. After 3 good solid attempts at trying to play that repeat, if you can't do it after 3 attempts, drop the metronome speed down by 10. Try it again. So that's the measurement to go by. If you can't do it after 3 attempts, drop the metronome. Because, again, we have a time limit here. We don't want to spend too much time with this stuff and get too mentally fatigued. We don't want to get too exhausted doing this stuff. So we got to be intense. We got to go at this with purpose and basically get the work done and get out. So, yes, when you're working on your 3 repetitions, and after 3 attempts, you just can't get all 3 repeats, drop it down, drop that speed down. And this should make it easier to get, because if you're playing a little bit slower, then you can think a little bit more accurately, and you have a better chance of getting it done. So, let's say 20 minutes is about to happen, and you still haven't hit all 4 repetitions. Just end wherever you're at with one more good take. So let's say you were still working on the 3 repeats, 3 repetitions, and the 20 minutes goes by. Just make sure you end with a really good 3 repetitions and call it a day. Eventually, as you continue to work on this, you will get those 4 repeats. Now, the other thing is, if you feel you have maxed out in less than 15 minutes time, decrease the metronome by 10 or 20 beats per minute, add in the repeats. So basically, let's say you're at like 12 minutes in and you are really struggling to play this correctly anymore. That's okay. You don't have to keep going all 15 minutes, because if you max out in less than 15 minutes, that's fine. So let's say you got to 240 beats per minute in 12 minutes, and it took you like 2 minutes of really struggling to get that 240 beats per minute take. Don't go any further than that. Just drop it down to 220 and try adding in the repeats there. So I know it's time to say that no more speeding up in a practice session when it takes like 1, 2, or 3 minutes of really struggling to nail that take. So on average of like 2 minutes of really, really struggling to get that speed. When you finally get it, that's it. So, again, hopefully all this makes sense. Watch that other video in the email signature I have anytime you forget how to practice stuff. And it's basically just talking about what I just did. If something doesn't make sense, you don't understand what it means, please let me know. Because I do want you to understand what we're doing. Hopefully the language barrier won't get in the way. Now, all that being said, what I'm going to do is demonstrate this stuff at some different speeds. So I'm going to count off 4, and I'm going to do it with the metronome. You see it on the screen there. And then I'm just going to play along, and I'm going to count out loud so you can understand what I mean by say the count. Basically, we're only going to say what we're playing. So we got this 8th note, the 8th note's up here because that's how we space it out. And, you know, in your, I guess, native language, whatever you feel comfortable saying, if you want to change the numbers to something else so you can say it more comfortably, that's fine. As long as you're saying something to help you understand this rhythm best, that's what we want. I'm going to change the size of things here real quick. And you know what? I just realized what time it is. In 4 minutes, I have an hour-long lesson to do. So I'm going to split this first lesson into 2 parts. So there's part 1, talking about like a practice approach. Part 2, I will demonstrate everything. So I'll be back in just a moment with part 2.